love, we find both. We find a sense of unity and a sense of belonging. And for most of us, the first source of love is the home, where we are born, where we grow up. We grow up with whoever our parents or guardians, our mentors are. We find love among friends. So wherever we feel that sense of home, we also find love coming to us. And 3, support. No matter how much any of us might claim to be self-made, no one is self-made in this world. We have to just acknowledge the fact that we wouldn't be where we are today if throughout our lives so many people hadn't contributed in various ways for us to be who we are today. They say that among all the newborns, the human baby is the most helpless among creatures. Even among birds and animals, within a few days or weeks, they're able to manage their own stuff. But a human baby, and all of you who are parents are fully aware of, although we may not always remember when we were little babies, but when you have a baby of your own, you recognize how dependent the baby is on you. And then we are, of course, if we don't remember our own little when we were little, then at least by looking at other babies, we can see that where would we be? Where would any baby be if those who brought up that baby hadn't taken care of that baby? There's so much of sacrifice involved. You give understanding, love, friendship. As we grow older, we get these in addition to, of course, the food and water that are given to us when we are not even able to take care of our own selves when we were very little. And of course, as we grow up, from our friends, we get understanding, friendship. From our teachers, we get knowledge. From the books, we get information. From wide nature, we get air, water. Throughout, we have gotten so many things from outside. And so none of us need to imagine that we are just done everything ourselves. We are all interdependent. And that's why the Gita often speaks about remembering how much we have gotten from the world outside, and then asking ourselves, what am I contributing to this big universal life? And that's this whole spirit of the cosmic yajna, the cosmic sacrifice. Things coming to us from the external world, it kind of getting processed inside and then going out from outside us in the form of some productive contribution to society, either through the products that you create or through love, understanding, friendship, everything that we give. And so support is something that we receive all through life, and a support is something that we give. And all of these things are possible in an environment which we call home. So that's one important characteristic of home, is that it's a place that gives us security, it gives us love, it gives us support. A home has also another characteristic. Love, a home is something that defines boundaries. And that is why we are able to say, come inside home, don't stay outside. So the moment you speak about inside and outside, you are defining a boundary. And the moment you have a boundary around anything, and if you are expected, at least during certain hours or certain reasons, to remain within that boundary, then a home can also be a source of bondage. Because when you're told, don't get out of this boundary, then you know that the home can be a source of bondage as well. And that is why, in spite of the home providing us with security, love, and support, we know that we cannot stay forever in the home. There's the need to be away from home, oftentimes, to broaden our horizons. Now, this often happens in the case of most of us, at least those of us who are living in urban areas, in a very natural way. When we go to college, when we respond to different job opportunities or different career opportunities, when we start a family of our own. And then that place which we saw as our home, we then have to move out and then go to some other place. Now, when we go to some other place, we don't become necessarily homeless. We start another home. So we're really moving from one home to another home. And changing homes has its own challenges, because the earlier supports that we had, the support that provided security, love, and support, all of those things will have to be kind of rebuilt into the new place that we go to. And sometimes, therefore, and many of us, they say an average American in a lifetime at least changes his home 4 times. That's an average, of course. So we know that when we move from one place to another, it takes a little while to immediately identify that place as your home. It takes some time. And even when you have left your earlier place and then you kind of just see it from a distance or think about it, for a while, that still feels like home. And then over time, gradually, the homeness of that earlier home seems to diminish, and the new place that you move to begin to appear as your home again. So we create new structures which provide us with love, security, and support. And then that becomes our new home. For Vedanta students, when we begin to think about the self, we become familiar with a different kind of home. When we see that the spirit is what each of us truly are, then we have to deal with the idea about what about my own body and mind. And many Vedanta students come to see in the course of their study and practice that our own body and mind can be seen as a home. And that's a home that is gifted to us free the moment we are born. It's a home that grows. Clearly, when we were born, we were so little. It's a home that grows. It grows naturally, but how big that home wants to be is also within our control to some extent. It's a home also that we know is not going to be with us forever. So this is another one dimension of home that comes to our mind as students of Vedanta, the body and mind as a home. Now, taking another look at homelessness with this understanding of home, that home can be a place which provides us with security, love, and support, but love and home also as a place which defines boundaries, which keeps me bound within it. So when we take a look at homelessness again, we see that homelessness can be a very painful experience, obviously, because the moment we see that we are without a place that provided us with that love, with that support, with that security, then it's going to be painful. No matter how much homeless shelters or legislative measures by the government may try to provide us a protection from heat and cold and a roof over our head, unless and until these places provide us with sufficient security, love, and support, we are not going to be able to see them as our home. And so homelessness can be a very painful experience. But seeing home as something that defines boundaries, something that constricts my freedom, then getting out of homelessness can be also joyful. Sometimes oftentimes in their youth, their teenagers run away from home. Now, getting outside that, the boundary of a home and experiencing that first kind of freedom seems to bring joy. I mean, if it were not something that made people happy, they wouldn't even contemplate running away from home. So for sure, at least temporarily, if not forever, a leaving home, or becoming homeless, or even contemplating the possibility of leaving home can be a very liberating experience. But that may not always last long, because oftentimes when we are very young, we don't think about all the pros and cons. We just kind of, some idea goes into head, and many of us may have been familiar with it with our own experience in life. We just kind of rush into it thinking something would be great, and then after some time we discover that, well, it's not as great as we thought it to be. So it could be something which was joyful in the beginning and then become painful later on. But as students of Vedanta, when we look upon the body and mind as our home, then becoming homeless in the sense of not identifying with this home can be very spiritually beneficial. There's this great poem of Swami Vivekananda, many of you are familiar with it. It's a long poem called The Song of the Sannyasin. In that there is this one verse, and Swamiji says, "Have thou no home? What home can hold thee, friend? The sky thy roof, the grass thy bed, and food what chance may bring. Well cooked or ill, judge not. Free thou ever be, Sannyasin bold, say Om Tat Sat Om." Now here, clearly, Swamiji is referring to this home, external home. Have thou no home. He's not really saying get out of the body and mind yet, but he's just saying that these home, the place that we have begun to see as our home, it is possible to get out and experience that freedom. The sky thy roof, the grass thy bed. So if we can look upon this whole entire universe itself, or at least this planet, as our home, what could be a better roof than the sky? What could be a better bed than a grass? Of course, all this, the joy of looking upon the sky as the roof, the grass as bed, is possible only when this intense spirit of seeking a truth, seeking a reality beyond this material reality animates our soul. If that spirit hasn't overtaken us yet, then otherwise it's going to be pretty painful, because there's going to be all the challenges of living outside the confines, the kind of security that our earlier home provided. But if our souls are animated with this idea of just getting out of this freedom and finding the truth within, then that's the spirit that Swami Vivekananda is referring to here. Now, what does this mean? Now, clearly, it's not a call that every one of us has to become a monastic, that everyone should leave their home. That's not what Swami Vivekananda is intending here. The idea is this: can we stop recognizing, being grateful for all the security, love, and support we have received from the various homes, our primary home, the secondary home, and the home as extension we have received from everyone, and being grateful for everything that we have received? Can we recognize that if I want to be free, I would have to stop depending on these sources of security, support, and love that are external to me? So yes, all of these things that I have received have made me stronger, have made me more mature, have given me the ability to stand on my feet. But now after having done that, how long should I remain dependent on these external props that have come to me through God's grace? Now, that doesn't mean that I have to leave everything and go. But it certainly means, as a spiritual seeker, can I find a way to withdraw my mind from these external homes and focus on this home which is much closer, the home of my own body and mind. And that's what we generally try to do. When we try to pray and meditate every day as spiritual seekers, if thoughts about our external homes are still bothering us, then of course, then we are not really meditating. And what looking upon the body and mind as home does is it helps us withdraw our mind from all these external supports, external hopes. And sometimes we will find that, at least in the beginning of our practice, that when we try to withdraw our mind from the external world, we become more aware of the problems related to this internal world of body and mind. Sometimes many seekers have experienced, at least in the beginning, that they were better off when they were not meditating than when they were meditating. The reason is, earlier I was so fun, I was so joyful, I didn't have any worries. And now that I have started meditating, now there is my knees ache, my body aches, and my mind is. All these things occur, and then sometimes mistakenly we attribute that to meditation. The problem, I don't want to do this because it creates more problems. Actually, it's not creating problem. What it is doing is it is making me aware of the problems that already existed, but the problems that remained in the background because I was so engrossed with the external world. Now, just because I was not aware of it doesn't mean it's not there. So the first step in solving a problem is to become aware of it. And what prayer and meditation does is not immediately give a solution, but what it does, it first makes us aware of the problems related to our own body and mind. Now, once we become more aware of what's going on within us, it becomes so much more easier then to try to find a solution to it. It becomes so much more easier. It encourages us to find a truth that is beyond this little body and mind. The first song that Swami Vivekananda sang when he met Ramakrishna, actually we did it I think last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago. Oh my mind, return to your own abode. It's a Bengali song. Mon chalo nija niketane. Oh my mind, return to your own home. So again, once we become aware of this body and mind as our home, then we recognize that no, this is not really my home. My real home is beyond the body and mind. It is then that we suddenly notice that among the many homes that we have had in life, I need to go to my ultimate home. So the journey, one way, we speak about the journey from light, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. We could also see that same journey from many homes to one home. And for a spiritual seeker, that one home is always a divine place, a divine being, or God. Only if my true home is in God, if my true home is in that spiritual ideal, then I'm a spiritual seeker. What it means is, why should that divine being or the spiritual ideal how can that be my one true home? What makes it the true home? What makes it true home is that if security, support, and love is what we seek, then God is the source of all security. God is the source of all love. God is the source of all support. So if we must, there is a Bengali proverb which says that if I have to go hunting, I will hunt a rhino. If I have to steal, I'm going to go and rob a bank. Which really means that if I want to do something, I'm going to do it on a big scale. There's no fun in going and hunting a rabbit. Just go and do something big. So it's that spirit. That is, if I want support in life, if I want security in life, if I want love in life, I'm going to go to the original source and get it. And the source of all these three is the spiritual ideal. So how do we then go from many homes to our one true home? First thing, finding security in God. And this is a question that we can ask ourselves. We all want security, we want to be secure. What are the sources of security in my own life at this moment? And there are going to be several. There was never going to be one answer to that. Clearly, we know in order to live and move and survive in life, we need money. And money is a source of security. No denying that. A home is a source of security. Friendship. So there are a bunch of things we can mention that these are the things that make me feel secure. A good health insurance, you feel more secure. So there are a lot of things. And then we can ask, how much control do I have over all these different sources? While we might think that we have a good amount of control over several of them, we have also to recognize that our control is still not total. That there are factors which can take away all of these supportive structures. And therefore, a spiritual seeker says, yes, it's not that I have to deny the security that I get from all of these, but to recognize that even the security I get through all of these sources, it's really coming from God. And so, for a spiritual seeker, God becomes the only source of security. Which is why, if at all, a choice appears in life, this or God, then a spiritual seeker would always choose God. Recognizing that everything, all security comes from God. Same thing with love. I said in the beginning that life would be impossible without love. And most of us are fortunate to receive love from many different sources, from many different ways. But a spiritual seeker sees that God, that's why we say God is love. That whatever love we receive from whichever sources is really God's love coming through all these different channels. If I forget the presence of God behind all the love that comes to me, then that love will not bring the total fulfillment that we all seek. And therefore, for a spiritual seeker, again, all the presence of love in our life, a spiritual seeker sees that it's really coming through God's grace. It's coming through God, coming from God, through all these different channels, through all these different instruments. And finally, support. Finding support in God. God is the support of the entire universe. So it's better to go to a support which itself doesn't need any support. The many other supports we have in life are great, but they themselves need support. There is a story about one beggar who went to King Akbar in the, I think, 15th or 16th century. It's just an anecdote. I don't know whether it's historical. He goes to this great king, Akbar, and it was known that Akbar is a very charitable person. He never sent away anyone empty-handed. And so when this beggar reached the king's place, it just so happened that that was the king's prayer time. So the king said, let me finish my prayer, and then I'll give you whatever you want. And then the king kneeled down before the altar, started praying. The beggar was also there. And then in the course of his prayer, the king prayed to God. God, give for the kingdom, we need this, give that, and so on. And then when he turned back, he found that this beggar was about to leave. And the king said, what happened? Oh, please wait. I'm going to give you what you want. And the beggar said, no need. He said, well, I find that you are as much a beggar as I am. And so if you are going to ask from God, why should I ask from you? I can go to the original source. I myself can ask from God. Again, so all this I mention, not to suggest that we deny or discard the security, love, and support that we get in life. In fact, we have to be grateful for all of this that we get in life. But as spiritual seekers, we can see that all of these things come through the grace of God. In fact, all of these things come straight from God. The more we are able to cultivate this way of understanding what's happening in our lives, the easier it will be for us to break through home as a source of bondage. And the greater the possibility for us to benefit from looking upon the home as a source of security, as support and love. And then breaking through, becoming homeless from all these secondary homes and finding our true home in God, true home in our spiritual ideal. So even as we try to deal with homelessness that we see on the streets every day and do our best as much as we can to provide support, security, and love to these people who are homeless, we should also be aware of this another dimension of homelessness, which can be spiritually beneficial when we try to look at this deeper, a more nuanced, and a more subtle idea of home in our lives. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. We bow down to Ramakrishna and Holy Mother. Our subject next Sunday is not the subject that's in the flyer, because we have a guest speaker. Swami Arupeshananda, a young monk from a Ramakrishna monastery in Trabuco in Southern California, will be visiting next weekend. And I requested him. By that time, the flyer had already been printed, so I couldn't put this. I got this, the news of his coming a little late. And so I requested him to speak, and he has very kindly agreed to come and speak to us. His subject next Sunday will be, Why Am I the Way That I Am? By Swami Arupeshananda. So you're all welcome to come and listen to our guest Swami next Sunday. On Wednesday, we will continue with the study of the Gita. Presently, we are doing chapter 11. Speaking of which, the chapter 10 CD is now available. If you have missed any of the talks, you can pick them up in the bookstore. On Tuesday and Saturday, we'll continue with our study of, Tuesday and Saturday we'll continue with our Arati and meditation as usual, and the evening at 6 o'clock. So you're welcome for all of these programs. We'll now conclude with a prayer on page 3 of your books. May the Divine Being, who is the Father in heaven of the Christians, Holy One of the Jewish faith, Allah of the Muslims, Buddha of the Buddhists, Tao of the Taoists, Ahura Mazda of the Zoroastrians, the Great Spirit of the Native Americans, and Brahman of the Hindus, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May we be granted strength, freedom, and clear understanding. May we learn to see God in our own hearts and in everyone around us. May God bless us all and fill our hearts with gratitude, grace, and love. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.